coming here. I spent most of my years there, my childhood years. And when I spoke to Mr. Mahlangu, he said, I need to come and speak to all of you. Because we grew up in a society where we have challenges. Firstly, we deal with poverty. We know that we come from disadvantaged. I'm not sure if any one of you knows where Ivory Park is.
Yes.
Oh. Yes, that's where I was born and bred. That's where I grew up. I attended both my family and primary and high school life. And so that's where I grew up, and I attended both my primary and high school life. I spent most of my years there, my childhood years. And when I spoke to Mr. Mahlangu, he said, I need to come and speak to all of you. Because we grew up in a society where we have challenges. Firstly, we deal with poverty. We know that we come from disadvantaged backgrounds. And most of the time, we tend to think, want to make it in life. I'm not saying that I'm making it, but I think I'm way better than where I used to be. We tend to think that where we come from, the circumstances have completely changed. We are no longer whatever we're experiencing, if it was poverty, if it was challenges that we used to experience as teenagers, the younger people that are still back there are not experiencing it. And unfortunately, that's always not the case. Because what I've experienced, I think about 10 or 15 years back, it's still there, it's still active. When I drove in, I could quickly pick up, and some of the experiences I could immediately relate to. So I'm hoping that by me sharing my story, you'll be able to relate, and you'll be able to learn something from it. And it will, I think the most important thing is to give you that hope that doesn't matter where you come from, you can always make it in life. You can always improve and go back and help someone else. I think it's about, in a black community, it's about always going back and holding someone else's hand. That's very critical. So, when I went to high school, I think I applied to a high school where I hoped, you know, when they tell you that this high school is the most important, or they do well when it comes to your Matric years. When you get there, they tell you that there is space. So my first year, I think when I was grade 8, we didn't have space. I think the first 3 months or 4 months of the year, we usually spent sitting outside. There was no teacher, we were not learning. The government was still trying to make a plan for us to be able to maybe create a new school somewhere so that we can get enrolled, which is what eventually happened. We were enrolled, we spent, I think about, from that 4 months, we spent about another 2 or 3 months in containers. I think it was about 3 or 4 containers. So literally, the high school that I went to, we were the first people to go there, to start the school, and then we were the first matriculants out. I studied up until I got to Matric, and then obviously I did science and maths. I think I did very well. I passed, I think I got about 3 distinctions or 4. I can't remember very well in my Matric year. And our farewell functions, I think I collected most of the certificates there, not to brag, but I had the brains. So, but just to, I think I brought something, just to give you an overview of where I'm coming from. A friend of mine sent, actually this young man in the middle, sent me this picture on Friday evening. I didn't even know that it existed. But what I'm trying to say here, when I saw it, I was like, okay, people share this with you. Is this is me. I've always been the tall girl in school. But you can see, just looking at this picture, it speaks volume. You can tell that there's something was not aligning. You can tell just from the uniform. I don't even know that I had a black and white jersey. I don't know where it ended up, where I got it from, but yeah, I used to wear this. This was our grade, I think I was doing grade 8. But now the reason for me sharing this with you is just to be vulnerable and try to show you that this is where I come from. This is who I was back then. But trust me, one thing about poverty is you don't know that you are experiencing it until you go back and take a look back into your life and you actually realize that, you know what, I was actually going through the most, but I didn't realize. For me, that was life as usual. This is what life is. This is what I do. So I think that's the most precious thing about life. You never get to a point where you actually compare yourself and feel like, oh, unless if there's always someone in your group or in class who thinks, okay, I come from a better family. But actually, we are all from the same township. Whether your mom or your dad is working, mine is not working, eventually we are all suffering. We are all in the same community. So what affects me eventually will affect you. You can't run away from that. So I brought these books, guys. I hope you'll be able to use those, because one thing about our education, it never teaches you about who you are at your core. Who are you as you're sitting there? I think maybe if you can take a moment, just on the first page, just write that question down. Who am I? Down, and after that, you come back and answer that question. You don't have to share that with anyone. That's your answer. And please just be as honest to completely answer that question now. But when you're sitting at home by yourself, time, I know we are teenagers and there's pressure with friends but eventually when you're sitting by yourself, go within. There's that strength within you and answer that question. Who am I at this moment? My second question is, where do I see myself in the next coming year? When you answer that question, please be as honest as you can. Don't worry about how you're going to get there. Just focus on where do you see yourself. Create that affirmation in you to say, if you see yourself studying at UJ or at VETS or at GIPS, somewhere, wherever, just write that down and put it there to say, this is where I see myself. Because thoughts, what you think, you become what you think. Thoughts speak out right now. You have the power to create. Your brain, your subconscious mind has the strength to go and create that. But it's up to you how you put that, how you create it. You need to create that belief that I can be able to achieve this. Don't worry about your fees. Don't worry about your application. Those are not your problems. Let the universe deal with that. Focus on where you want to go. So I think that's the most critical thing, because most of the time we get bombarded with, I don't know where I'm going, I don't know who's going to pay my fees, I'm already struggling now, I know my circumstances at home, I know the most I do. Those shouldn't be your problems. Your problems right now is studying and making sure that you make the most out of this current moment that you have. Because the final mark that you get in December or next year in Jan, when you get your final results, will determine who you are. And trust me, the universe will always respond if you believe in what you are writing in that book. My next question, 10 years from now, after you spend, let's say on average you spend about 5 years in tertiary, normally it doesn't take that long, but we know that you come across challenges. Sometimes you are the smartest child in class currently. We know that you know all the answers, we expect you. And then when you get to the real world, because this always feels like the real world, but trust me, this is just the beginning. That's why you need to make sure that you make your hardest now. Because when you go out there, you meet different people. Now, this is comfortable. You can be the smartest person in the room. You can be that bossy learner that sits on the corner or somewhere. We know that we always have those in us. But what I'm saying is, when you go out there, whether you're at typical, I went to UJ and eventually I went to UNISA, now I'm currently studying with kids. But what I'm saying is, when you get to an institution, it's not all about, we are all coming, like I said earlier, this is the same background, this is the same community. We know that there's others who are doing better than the rest, but eventually we come from the same community. When you go to tertiary, it's different. You get someone who's coming from Uganda, you get someone who's coming from France, you get all sorts of people. And trust me, you get people who are going to outsmart you in class. That time, like some of us, you are a NESA student. You're only a student, you're going to make sure that you pass, because if you don't pass, they are going to exclude you the next financial year. They are paying currently for your fees. Luckily, I know in other institutions they couldn't give. Some of the students, they were not even paying for their residence fees. I was paid for accommodation, I was paid for my fees, but I needed to make sure that I pass. They were willing. The government is fine, we can complain about our government right now, but reality is they still paid. And trust me, the people that I went to class with that are not even paying back the money that they were loaned because it's the government money. But that's beside the point. You need to make sure that you perform. So when you get to tertiary next year, don't lose yourself. It's all nice, and when you get to a new environment, it's either your self-esteem will completely drop if you're the best person in class, or you're comfortable with where you come from. When you get there, you get people who speak better English than you. You get people who are smarter than you, who dress better than you. Currently, you are wearing a school uniform. That school uniform is protecting you from a whole lot of things. And trust me, those things are not important. But when you're looking at it now, you feel like, actually, this is it. I don't want to be wearing a uniform. I don't want to be in a uniform space and look like everyone else. But that is protecting you. Because when you get to tertiary, you get to realize that actually, I should have appreciated my uniform more. Because when you get there, you get people who come from rich families, trust me, wealthy backgrounds, kids that are already coming to school driving nice cars that I can't even afford right now as a full-time employee working for someone else. There's students in their first year already driving in those cars. And you come to a class, you'll be sitting there or somewhere, maybe in front. Most of the time you even avoid being in front because you don't want to be the lecture to people. But you get to realize that actually life was easier where I come from, and I need to work harder. I need to add whatever effort I was putting back then. I need to make sure that I double that effort, because you do not have a choice from what you do not have that option to actually go back and start from scratch. You don't have that, because if you go back, this is where they're coming back to. And trust me, I know when I finished my matric, part of me wanted to work. I saw people work at ShopRite, and the teller there. I felt like they had the best jobs because they are earning, maybe back then they were earning about 2,000 rand or 3,000, but it felt like a lot of money because where I come from, I didn't have that money, that didn't exist. It feels like if someone now was to tell you that you have a potential in 2 years' time of studying with him to make sure that in a month you get about 50K as your take home, you tend to feel like, no, this is impossible. Remember what I said, do not worry about the how. Focus on what you want. What do I want as Olinda standing here? I still have my own dreams and ambitions. And someone might look at me and think, no, but why are you still studying? It's because I'm not where I want to be. So, what I'm saying by this, stop dreaming small. Someone will think about 3,500. It's a lot of money. This thing doesn't even pay my car installment currently. It's a little car that I'm driving. You need to dream beyond and do not worry about the how. Focus on the what you want, and again, why do you want that thing? And how bad do you want it? That should be your focus. Because if you're going to spend time worrying about the how, trust me, if I worried about the how, I should have gotten I should have gotten stuck here. And trust me, I have my peers who got stuck here, and some of them were coming or back then, were from the same community, but it felt like they were coming from better families. Because they had their full school uniform. Every day they had, maybe back then, maybe it was 10 rand was a lot of money, I don't know about now when they go to school. Like, they had that life that some of us didn't have. Some of us knew that you can wake up and go to school, then come back. You wake up in the morning, you don't eat anything, breakfast, it's a fancy thing. Back then for some of us. And I know there's other people that are still experiencing that. But if you let that capture you, you'll be captured. I had a choice of being stuck here. I had a choice of, you know what, this school thing is not worth it. I can't go to school and not be eating and come back again. We need to make a plan for us to have something to eat on the table. So you know what I'm going to do? Let me get a boyfriend who's currently maybe working at some construction company for the girls. Or if I'm a guy, I feel like, okay, maybe I can, you know what, join that crew and just make big cash, find ways to make money quickly, so that I don't have to be stuck in that circumstance. Because during that age, there's a lot of peer pressure. You feel like you want to fit in, because that's when you start to know you think, actually, you don't start to know yourself, but you think you know yourself. You think, you know what, I know who I am now. I deserve this, I deserve that. No, you still don't know yourself. And I know as I'm speaking now, there's probably someone who's saying, no, you don't know what you're talking about. Like I said earlier, there's things that you know only when you look back. Just like when you're experiencing poverty, you only realize years later when you look back that actually, you know what, I was stuck in poverty. I was stuck in the rut. But I had a choice of either staying there or doing something about it. So that was for the third question. Like I said, I studied at UJ. I studied industrial engineering. That was my base. I'm not sure if anyone is familiar with that. Anyone? I know people are familiar with chemical engineering and mechanical, electrical. As well, I wanted to study. I remember I wanted to study chemical engineering because I was good with chemistry. But then, when I arrived, I feel like, actually now that I think of it, I feel like most of my life I didn't have space where I wanted to go. Life was just kept on redirecting me somewhere else. Because I wanted to study chemical, but when I applied in time, I was put on a waiting list and eventually I was told that there's no space. The only qualification that had space is industrial engineering. Industrial engineering is more about business optimization. If now I'm running, whether, just a typical example, this is a school. If it's a private school, you need someone who's going to do proper analysis on the processes that you have. What else? You look at your processes, you look at how the business is running, and then you look also at your, if it's manufacturing, like with me when I started doing it, I started as a graduate at Nissan, so I was based in a manufacturing environment. So when you're there, while people are building cars, you go there and you do an analysis on the production line. You try to see if you look at the processes that are currently running. Because when you build a car, you start from stamping plant, where you build the body of the car, you stamp, and then you move to body shop, where they start to assemble all the parts that some of them we import, some of them are locally produced. And then from there on, we move to paint shop, where we start painting the body before we can get to the trim line. Trim line, we look at how, we fit all those electricals, your aircons, and the lights of the vehicle. And then after that, we take it to final line. That's when we do our testing before we ship to the stockyard, so that sales and marketing can start with their marketing and sell those items. So I was in manufacturing, I was in production. I think for 2 years I was an industrial engineer. Another thing that I need to write, you to write in that book is your career choice. Why did you choose? Already, if I can ask someone now, if I can ask you, what do you think you'll study next year? It doesn't have to be perfect, whatever. Or maybe you don't. Remember, career choice is not about you going to study next year. Maybe you don't want to study. Maybe you have something. Maybe you want to be an entrepreneur. Maybe you have something else in mind. Come again? Logistics. I'll ask you the next question. I'm not trying to put you on the spotlight. Why do you want to study logistics?
I don't know, I just
Okay. With me, I wanted to study. I'll share my side now. And I'm not saying there's something wrong with logistics. Because with industrial engineering, we touch on industrial engineering, like I said, is more business optimization. That's why now with my industrial engineering, I can still work in sales and marketing. You can use this to place you in different spaces. You can work now there's industrial engineers that are working at the bank, there's process engineers, there's industrial engineers that are working for MTN, for Vodacom. There's a lot. So it's just up to you on which area you choose. I have industrial engineers that are currently working in logistics. They are currently working in SCM, supply chain management. So this allows you to venture out. So with me, like I said, I always feel like I'm redirected because when I studied, I wanted to study chemical engineering. If I look back now, I was going to be bored because this was just not me. And this was going to put me in a very limited space where I can't even branch out to other areas. Like currently I'm in sales and marketing with the same qualification. My point is when you choose a career, please, this is very important for everyone because I had to learn the hard way. Like I said, my character is I care about people. If you would have asked me back then when I was doing it, I never took the time to see. That's why I said when you answer those questions, take the time to understand who am I, besides my friends, besides my background, who am I? If I can say I've done something and I feel happy, what have I done? What is that thing that touches my core? Obviously, you never get a career where everything is smooth sailing, or where you feel like, you know what, it fits me perfectly, it's a perfect fit. Every career will come with its own challenges along the way. But it will always, you want nothing that will always touch your core as a human being. That's why you get people who play football, and then they go all the way, they play international football somewhere. And you get people who play football, but actually, they don't really get far. Because this is not where they belong. There's people who actually belong here. They went and they understand this is part of who they are. So that's very important.
Because you wanted to do chemical engineering. So I don't know which is the industrial engineering because it was a second option.
It was not a second option, even to another. Okay, this is engineering. When I went to, when I started my application, I didn't know about this. When they told me that this is the only course that we can take you, I had to go and read it, but I still didn't understand. For me, it was more, okay, it's engineering, I'll see, we just the first year is fine, I'll do it pass, and then the following year, I can.
So you had that willingness to learn industrial engineering?
When you say I have that, are you saying now or back then?
Back then.
Remember, I said, where I come from, This is where I come from. You get to a position where you don't have a choice. I can't afford to go back here and be sitting at home. I don't know what I'm given. NEFSAS is already approving that they are going to pay for my fees. What if I decide that I don't want industrial engineering? Then next year I find myself sitting here and NEFSAS is like, we were willing to pay for you next year. This year we can't pay for you.
I mean, for that subject, I like the subject to know that it's not we.
For high school.
For these,
Remember, I said, industrial engineering, I didn't know about this course. Now all I knew in my head, I wanted to do chemical engineering. I had done my research that year, and I was happy with this. I knew that my marks were good, like I understood this part of science. But then when I got here, they gave me this. I had to go back now and read through. Even though I still didn't have much understanding of what this entailed, I was in a position where I can't say, no, I don't want this. You know why? Because in my head, this was part of it. Because there was this link between this and this, I was like, well, it's fine, I'll take it as a second option. Because it's engineering. Trust me, if I had taken the time to go through that question that I said you need to write down, I would have never studied this. Because this is not who I am. I'll never go into a library now as I'm studying and pick up a book and speak about engineering and science. I'll never do that myself. It doesn't matter to me as a person. And what I'm not sure if you know visiting the why.
yes.
Yeah, whoever knows that, you can research about him. You meet people like him. He performs at his core. He's a speaker. He doesn't have to work. There are things that you need to work to enhance that ability that you have. But you don't have to force yourself. It comes natural, who you are. Like now as I'm standing here and speaking, trust me, it's part of, this is me. I can speak. I don't have to crack my head. When you get to tertiary, you study engineering. You know very well, I think I got 65 for my final mark in maths, mathematics, in Matric. I had to sweat. I had to have sleepless nights. Studying to make sure that I get that lesson. And there's people in class who just spend 3 hours just doing a quick run, just to a refresher, and then they will really have to spend so many nights, and then they'll get about 80-something%. That's what I'm saying, the criticality of speaking to who you are and understanding that this is who I am. I was surrounded. My brother studied chemical engineering. So many people study engineering. Engineering was a buzz, and I'm not saying engineering is a bad course. This is good. It has so many career opportunities, it can open so many doors for you. But if you do something that you're not passionate about, that you don't care about, you'll be stuck with this. That's why now you get to, currently we have graduates that we take every year. That's where I'm working. We have graduates that we take there, and then maybe in a department they'll allocate 2 graduates. There's always that one. No one knows. All the senior managers, they just don't know who this person is. Because that person doesn't care about that job. They're just there to, at least I have something sitting at home after studying. But there's not that drive to say, you know what, I want to, we are busy working on this process, we need to make sure that we get it right and deliver. If there's a presentation in 2 weeks' time, we need to make sure that we get and deliver that presentation and make it perfect to senior management or our CEO or our director. They don't care about that. For them, it's, okay, we need to do a presentation. You just have to do it. But if you do it, you get that other person that did this out of passion. When you give them numbers, I think I failed my first engineering mathematics 1. Remember, you come back, you come from high school, you are the IT student where you come from. You got so many certificates during your matric year, you actually got distinctions. And then you get to this environment where there's other people in tertiary who are smarter than you, who understand things better than you. People are coming from multiracial schools. They are more advanced than we are. And you get lecturers and professors there. They don't care. Professors don't care. They don't come to you like now your teacher will come to be like, guys, did you study? Make sure that you know this. No, they don't have time for that. We are a class of 100 and something. We don't care about who. We don't even know your name. All we care about is, I come here, first week you're already on chapter 6. Guys, you're supposed to read and make sure that you understand these chapters before. You need to do your pre-readings. I'm still struggling with that now because I don't have time. I need to make sure that before I attend my classes, like I had classes this weekend, I do my pre-readings. They'll tell you that I'm going to speak this week we are looking at 5 chapters. We need to make sure that before we go to a lecture, we understand that, or else we'll be completely out and lost. We won't know what's happening. So, those are some of the things. But I think the most important message on that last part is to make sure that when you choose a career, choose what speaks to who you are, something that you enjoy. Obviously, you need to choose something that's going to help you move from where you are, but it shouldn't be painful. That's the thing. In life, we are taught that you need to struggle. You shouldn't be struggling. Right now, if you are doing 7 modules, you know that there's that one that you don't struggle. It just flows naturally to you. And then you'll be surprised someone else struggles with that. I had even in tertiary, I had someone who was getting, I think the lowest mark that they got from a calculus engineering maths, it would be 98. If they failed, it's 96%. I get to manufacturing engineering because it's all about processes. For me, it flows. I get 86, they go and get 50%. You can see that already there's a disconnect. If you start looking for work, am I going to go now and look for something that's going to force me to be stuck in calculus? Or am I going to look for something that's going to maybe get taken to that manufacturing where I don't have to do any mathematical calculations? So those are some of the important things that we need to take into account. I'm saying, this is my time plan. 5 years. Don't ask me for which organization. This is the time frame I'm giving for myself, and I know where what I will be doing there, and how I'm going to. I mean, the why. I know why I want to be there.
So if I maybe career like you something so I got and how when. So
what I'm saying is, it's fine, you still have to know, okay, next year I want to go to UJ. I need to make sure that I study hard for this course because I want to study. Let's say you want to study human resources. You know that for you to be at that level, I mean to get entrance. Now I think they are working, luckily for some of us we're looking at, I think you needed to get 50% for this, 50% for science to get entrance here. Now I saw they took it up to 65% the last time I checked. If you don't have 65 for men's, and just forget about this. Either you are going to have to do that 1 year where they put you in a program for you to improve your mark. They give you some of the modules, a bit of maybe you need to do your maths again, do that those light courses they put them here. And then you will have to spend that year there before you can actually enroll for this. I don't know if that's such a question.
Which book are you reading right now?
Currently I'm doing the 5 a.m. stuff. Actually I wanted to do the 5 a.m. stuff by Robin Sharma. There's a number, I think I showed it to your teacher the other day. I bought it sometime last week. I actually bought 2 books. The other one is Thinking Fast and Slow. Thinking Fast and Slow it forces you to work on your thinking. And apparently the book is very difficult to read, so I just started reading that. I'm reading the 5 a.m. now. Because currently my main challenge, I can tell you, I'm challenged with time management because I've just started a new course this year and it forces me to level up on the time management. I thought I had it all figured out, but unfortunately the school demands are high. I need to catch that balance between the two, my work and for me to get to that 5 year mark.